Right.
Definitely, I have contacts in today. For months, I did not have and we are live, but for months, I didn't have my contacts in because I was trying to let my eyes rest. I wasn't doing right. I wasn't putting my contacts in the solution like I was supposed to. I wasn't taking them out like I was just wrong, just went rogue. So my eyes paid me back for it. They just would not receive them. They would not. So I had to wear my glasses. Okay. I mean, and I was literally in them for like 6 months before my eyes let me be able to do this again. So
right.
If you need to grab them because you can't see, then then do that.
No, I'm good.
For sure. So as people get ready to join, again, this is one of those candid kind of conversations where we give people just a glimpse inside of, who we are and what we're about. And we always do a topic-based discussion. And I see people have already popped on. We already have, it looks like 6 at once. Hello, everybody. Welcome to November Chats. I see we have a few viewers. Please say hi to us so I'll know who's in our live event. Hey, Robin. Hey, Crockett. How you doing? I can see them on this end. And you see I have the wonderful Dr. T with us this evening. We'll allow a few more of our guests. Hey, Jen, how you doing? Hey, Mike, how's it going? We'll let a few more of our guests join us before we get started and I introduce you to the crew. Hey, Ava. Hey, Shauna. How y'all doing? Everybody wants to see the love doctor tonight. I tell you, this is this is our week of love, and we're celebrating this week, this all week long, love all week long. We do that anyway at the Modern Apothecary every single day, but it's really important that today we spend some time talking about love. Hey, Gail. Hey, Chris. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
Where you from? You from the South?
Of course.
Yeah.
Hey, Will. How's it going?
Hey,
Everybody
in the South, hey is a 2-syllable word.
That's right. Exactly. So this evening, we have with us the amazing Dr. T, who is also known as the Love Doctor for Black America. I believe, though, he is the Love Doctor for all of America. We're not going to even qualify it with just Black America. He has been a coach to some of the most prominent figures in our community, but he also is a very close and dear friend of mine. He has been supporting me and my husband through our journey and our relationship since before we were even married. And the reason I love Dr. T so very much, and this conversation is so important to me, is because he's not just a person that we see because we have problems going on or whatever. We see him just because we want to say hi. We see him just because of the trust factor that we have. We know that he's not only looking out for one person's best interest, he's looking out for the best interest of the union. And so I thought it was really important that I bring him on as an individual to help us to kind of flesh out this whole conversation about love. I mean, we throw that word around all kinds of ways. And for the next couple of minutes, hour or so, I really want us to talk about what love means to each and every one of us. And so I have people in the chat box, Dr. T. I don't know if you can see them, but they're saying, "Hi, Doc, how you doing?" And
Hey, y'all.
I will give them a couple of minutes to just welcome you all to the chat as well, and then we'll get into our conversation. So, Dr. T.
All right.
All right. So, Dr. T, let's tell them a little bit about, you as,
Okay.
a person and your practice and your family and all of that. And then we'll get into the juicy part of the conversation.
Okay. All right, cool. My name is Dr. Aaron Turpeau. I'm Black America's Love Doctor. A little bit about my history. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Went to Morehouse College, graduated from there. After that, I went to seminary and I got a Master of Divinity from there. And then I changed career paths and I got another master's degree in counseling education and from UGA, as well as a PhD in counseling psychology. So that's kind of my educational background. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm actually in private practice here in Atlanta, Georgia, where I help couples and I help individuals. Anything that's related to a marriage and love relationships, that's what I do. As far as my personal journey, I was married once before. She was fine, the sex was good. I thought I was in love. But I learned the hard way that I needed to think more with the right head to be able to really understand what would make a good fit. And exactly. So that's why I wrote my book. I'm known for my book. It's an Essence Magazine bestseller. It's called The Harmonious Way. Find love by playing your true note. And so find love in marriage by playing your true note. So that's what I'm kind of known for nationally. I'm also increasingly known for my YouTube channel. It's called the Turpeau channel. So you might want to check it out, where I have videos talking about topics on love and relationships. And so I just want to ask people to check that out as well. I'm sure you'll tell them how to spell my name.
I will tell them how to spell your name. I absolutely will. Okay. And he's being very modest, very, very modest over there, because if you watch any of, the TV shows, some of the TV shows that are out there and all that stuff, Dr. T has helped many couples through many different things. But one of the things that I have to say that I love the most about him is that he keeps it positive. He keeps it positive. He keeps love at the forefront of everything that he does in terms of how he works with both individuals and with couples. And I think that is, if you hear nothing else, this is really about how we hold that together. Even if we hold it together we're trying to hold it together for self, or if we're trying to hold it together in a relationship, that love and your language of love is something that he's had us to go back to time and time and time again. And so, and it's not just about how someone else can love you, but it's also about how you can love you. And so that is what this conversation is going to be about this evening. And I want you to bring your questions, because some of you who are on this feed, I see you in this box. Hey, Jamaica. Hey, Ava. I'm not calling y'all out, but some of you have been looking forward to him. And so those questions that you have, just about relationships and just about how to be true to yourself, even within a relationship, bring them, because that's what this whole conversation is about this evening. Right. And so as we move on into our conversation, most of you know my story. I am one of those individuals who learned the hard way about love. Like Dr. T was talking about, somebody was fine. I was always dating the people who had a whole bunch of money, but didn't necessarily care about me as an individual. And I felt like I was sacrificing self for something that didn't even equal the value that I bring and who I am as a person. And so I was in a lot of bad relationships. I put myself in situations that I never should have placed myself in. And I paid dearly for that in the heart space, because it took me a long time after I allowed that damage to be done. It took me a really long time to get my mind and my heart back, to get it right, to allow it to heal. And so I'm super transparent about, my journey, and super transparent about the space that I'm in now. I'm in the happiest space that I can possibly be in. And that is all because I know how to love myself. And my husband does a great job of loving me the way that I need to be loved. We work on that, though, because sometimes I can't stand his ass. I'm going to say that. And he can't stand me either. But the key thing that we have, hey, sissy, I see you on there. The key thing that we have and we've held on to is that we lead with love. And so the question that I have for you all, because this is going to be an interactive conversation this evening, is what does love mean to you? And where do you feel like that starts? So I'm looking in this chat box, and y'all know how talkative y'all are. I want to hear from you. What does love mean to you in a relationship? What does love mean to you? Dr. T, you can talk about yours, and then I'll talk about mine as well. What it means to me while we wait on our comments to come through and questions to come through.
Well, you know, kind of like mindfulness, love can be one of those big, beautiful terms that people have a lot of different takes. And that's why you have people here in the chat box, they're going to come up with different definitions. So it means different things to different people. One word that I tend to find more and more I do this work is that love means value. How much do you value someone? How much do you value yourself? And that's value. It's a feeling of value, but it's also the verb of value. Do you value yourself as far as how you treat yourself? Do you value others as well? And so that's one synonym definition that I take when I'm working with people. Now, there's different types of love. There's the agape love. That's the more spiritual, universal love. That's what you hear preached about through the message of Christianity and these spiritual type of love forms. And there's philia, and that's more of a brotherly love, like Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. Now, when it comes to February, Valentine's Day, the love relationships and those types of things, that's called eros. That's where you get the word erotica from. And so this eros, this sexual, this union between yin and yang and what have you, this is what brings people together when they're usually talking about love and relationships. And when we're talking about that type of love, I think it's real important that we keep that in perspective and understand things like chemistry and attraction. Those things are important and integral, but they're not the be all and end all. You and I we mentioned some things that typical faults that people tend to make. The male classic, I did the male classic thing. She was fine. She looked good. So I thought that's all we need. And I confused that chemistry and that dopamine rush, that excitement. I confused that and called that love. I mentioned that movies and love songs will try to tell you that that's love as well. And so, and it is that for a lot of people. When you gave the classic example of how women see men who are successful, powerful, certain buttons get hit in you, and then you think that you get the certain feelings and the rush, and you start thinking that is love. Well, that is love for you at that time. And that is why I wrote the book, The Harmonious Way, because we have to be smart about our love choices, because if your goal is to have a long-term relationship, we have to understand that this chemical rush, this excitement, this thrill that we're experiencing, it's exciting, it's fun. But if your goal is to have a long-term relationship, we need to be thinking more about things like compatibility, and not so much do I love this person, but can I live with this person for the long haul? And you probably make a much better decision. And and that's why I try to encourage people on the front end before you have somebody to try to make a better decision. Now, there are other things you can talk about in order to make that good decision. You have to have the self-love that you're talking about to be true to yourself. And that's what I talk about in my book, to have that self-love. Be true to yourself. Play your note. Play it nice and strong. Play it nice and loud. Unapologetically be who you are. And play that note. And if somebody else is playing their two note, then you have those two notes together, and they can come together and harmonize. And this is the harmonious way, and make beautiful music.
Very good.
You have to have the courage to play that note.
Exactly. So in our chat box, our listeners have put some things that are important to them. Transparency and the ability to be flawed. So important. Like the ability to be exactly what you said, Dr. T, exactly who you are, flaws and all, in front of your partner.
Right.
Because we send out representatives a lot of times.
Yeah.
Send all kind of representatives. We don't know what. Nowadays, we can buy just about anything. We can buy anything. So when you see somebody stripped down and they got that ugly cry going on, like really, like, can you love me in that moment at the lowest of low? It's easy to love somebody when they're all the way up.
Yeah.
But how can you love me when I'm down? Like I'm at the very base level. So
Right.
transparency and
Right.
the ability to be flawed. And I want you to speak to that in just a second, but I want to get some more of these out here. Will said support. That first comment came from Chetta. We have Jamaica who's saying consistency and selflessness. I got a note from my hubby saying sacrifice. It is a part of love, support, value, consideration. These are things that I see over here in the chat box, but I really, let's tackle that whole idea around the ability to be flawed and transparency, because I think that gets to that whole self-love, self-worth piece and acceptance of who you are. So let's talk a little bit about that, because sometimes that can be a block to a really good relationship.
Yeah. Intimacy is about being close and being naked with each other. And when we're naked with each other, we let people see ourselves and the faults, not only the good things. Now, you don't start off, I'm going to just keep it real and practical. You don't start off being naked with people when you meet them.
No.
You put clothes on. I mean, you want to put your best foot forward. And I recommend that you do that, because you don't just come out, you know, in your robe to the nightclub with your pajamas and not having washed your ass, and then you say, well, I'm just keeping it organic. I'm just you got to love from me. No, don't do that. You need to be bringing your best foot forward. Give the relationship some time.
Everything. I need all that.
Yeah. So just, you know, I don't want to see all that right up front. So so you do need to do the dance, do the ritual, bring me your best foot forward. And we're going to see eventually, then you start, it's what I call people, it's a slow reveal. You need to start revealing more and more your nakedness and who you are. Sometimes you can scare people away if you come, bam, this is me. You got to deal with that shit. No, you don't. You don't come that hard with people. You just got to slowly reveal. That's too rough. You scare people away that way. You know, I had one client. She told me, I just tell them right first date, Dr. T, I ain't gonna sleep with him anytime soon, and they just need to get with that. I went, well, damn, he just gonna leave you right then, because that's why the whole reason he's in it in the first place. So you just scared him away.
Keep going.
It's got to be a slow reveal if you're going to be smart about this.
Right.
Okay,
exactly.
But yes, the ultimate goal is complete nakedness and intimacy. That's what nakedness is about. It's not just physical nakedness, it's psychological nakedness, it's emotional nakedness. And this is the beauty. This is an Edenic relationship where you're in the Garden of Eden, where you're naked and you're unashamed. And that's the beauty of the biblical story in Genesis. One of my favorite passages in the Bible is that Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed. And so that's just not a physical. To me, the story is an allegory, not a historical story, but we can talk about that later. It's actually an allegory trying to communicate that people need to be naked with each other, transparent, as you say, and naked and unashamed, warts and all. And you will have an Edenic, a paradise in your relationship if you have that type of relationship.
Exactly. And so one of the things that we think about, in order to be naked with yourself, you have to understand, and with your partner, you have to understand what's going on inside of you. And so what are some suggestions that you have for individuals who are afraid to put themselves out there, who are afraid and fearful of what their past has been, so afraid that they don't necessarily want to share that, nor do they want to open their hearts to someone else. They've been hurt. How do you love yourself through that process, that healing process? What are some suggestions that you have for those individuals? What are some things that you
one thing would be counseling, especially if it's a severe case that you feel like you have to put on the front. But, you know, life is about courage. It's about being who you truly are. And it takes courage to do that. And you have to, if you can have some self-reflection, but even in counseling, that would be helpful as well. I think, again, one of the beauties of the Christian message is that it's a just as I am without one plea. It's a graciousness that learning to love yourself. And so if you can come to that, and if you can be in a relationship, find somebody that you can harmonize with, and they can, if they have that gracious spirit as well, that's a great thing. And a lot of people are afraid because they've been judged. You know, they've been judged.
Ooh, you just said that.
Yeah, they've been judged in the church. They've been judged in a lot of places. They've been judged by other people, past relationships, and so that's why everybody's walking around with these personas, walking around with these masks, because we've been judged. And that's why, you know, when you eat from that tree of the Garden of Eden, you will walk yourself out of the Garden of Eden, and that tree is the knowledge of good and evil, which makes people feel judged. And when you feel judged, you're no longer in an Edenic relationship. Now you're ashamed, and now you got to clothe yourselves. And then love will look for you in the garden and say, where are you? And you will say, I clothed myself because I was naked. And so we have to have the courage to be who we are. And when people judge us, you know, we just got to say, fuck them. You know, the ancient Chinese. So I go from the Bible to saying the profanity word.
Exactly. But hey, but you know what? Think about it. In real life, that's the way it is. Sometimes you go from, I'm like, oh my goodness, what just happened? Like, what life will do that to you. It will put you in that space. It really, really will.
Don't let the masses get you down. You are a quality person. You're a child of the universe. You're a child of God. You belong here just like anybody else.
Exactly.
Play your note nice and strong. And if people don't like it, then they don't need to be dealing with you. Find somebody who will harmonize with you. Find somebody who does want to love you, and that'll be a better match anyway.
Exactly. Hey, Alicia, I see some other people have joined our conversation. Hey, Michael. Hey, Ava. I love your comment about understanding that your flaws and faults can cause setbacks in relationships, and they can. And know that even when you try, they might not all be able to be repaired. I mean, that's an honest statement. It's an honest statement, because just because you apologize to somebody or just because you hurt somebody doesn't mean that they have to forgive you. It's not.
I had one. He told me the other day, I just kind of laughed because he said, you know, well, Dr. T, I told her what I was doing. I was talking to other women. I was like, damn, dude, if you screwing some chick and then she catch you, you say, well, at least I told you. At least I was honest. That doesn't make it any difference.
Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. Hurt is hurt. I don't care whether you told me or not. That's wrong. You can't do that. Yeah, you're right. Some things are not fixable. They just are not. You can't.
And people deserve to be with people that they want to be with. And so you're hiding who you are. That's not good.
Exactly.
That's not good.
Exactly. So let's talk about this whole idea of we throw that term of self-love around all the time.
Yeah.
We always talk about, ooh, self-love, love this, love that. This is what is that? What does that mean? What does that mean? To love self. It's one of the things I want to say, it's different for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I tell people this way. When I tell people that, they'll hear from people, my colleagues, that say, well, you need to learn to love yourself first, and then other people will love you. And like it's some kind of magical thing. And you're sitting and you say, okay, well, I love myself and I accept myself. And then people are going to come out the woodwork and they're going to love you too. It doesn't work that way. It's not magical. Right. The way I put it is that if you love yourself, if you value yourself, how are you going to treat yourself? You're going to be the best that you can be. You're going to be the best you can be physically, mentally, educationally, financially, spiritually, in all kind of ways. You're just going to build. And as you build, you'll get higher and higher. You'll get better and better. And when you get way up there after loving, all that loving you've been doing on yourself, people look at that, up you on that pedestal and like, wow, check that out. Who's that? And they'll be attracted to you because you've been loving on yourself.
Exactly.
And so that's how love brings about love in your life.
Let me show y'all these notes I'm getting real quick, Dr. T.
on this piece of paper. I'm getting these notes across the table right here from Debbie. Talking about but this is, I wanted to show this piece of paper because this is so true. Part of loving yourself is forgiving yourself. And I know that that's something that sometimes it's hard for us to do. Like, it took me a long time to forgive myself for some of the mistakes that I have made in my life. And that's something that you work on constantly. And it's not something that just automatically is over. Oh, I decided to forgive myself. That's a journey. That's a process, a process to forgive yourself for experiences or situations or mistakes or whatever. But you have to accept that responsibility yourself.
Yeah. And one of the things that hinders that is perfectionism.
Exactly.
Thinking that we are perfect and that we shouldn't make any mistakes. Well, welcome to the club. You're part of the same club, Homo sapiens. We all make mistakes.
It's so funny in the chat. They're loving this, Dr. T. They're saying we need these sessions on a regular.
Yeah.
Know what you might get.
Yeah. We have to love ourselves. We got to forgive ourselves. Guess what? You're part of the same club that I am. We all fuck up some kind of way.
Exactly.
Every opportunity. And so if you understand that, then you'll be easier on yourself. And when you're easier on yourself, guess what? You'll be easier on other people too.
Exactly.
God help you if you live with a perfectionist.
Because nobody is. We are all a part of the human condition. Now, we may think we are, but trust and believe, none of us are perfect.
Right.
We are all a part of the human condition. Everybody has their flaws. Like, I am so impatient.
Yeah.
I have been working on that. That is my prayer.
You want it right now, don't you?
Oh my goodness. When I say
something, now.
I'm like, where is it? I want this second. I promise you, that's my cross, though. That's something that I have to work on daily. And that's where my mindfulness practice comes in. Just being still and understanding, just because you said it does not mean it's going to happen right this second. Like, I've struggled with that patience factor for a long time. I think I am better for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you lead with love, it requires you to be better. Mm-hmm. But that's one of my struggles. It's a journey for me. It really, really is, that patience thing. And then I have this whole thing about, you don't get what I'm saying? Like, I get really frustrated when I feel like somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying. And I feel like I'm communicating it to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
But they don't understand. And this is just not in my personal relationship with my husband. This is sometimes with friends and business associates or whatever. But that piece, that communication piece is so, look at these eyes I'm getting when I say I'm impatient. I got about 5 eyes on me over here in this chat box talking about patience. Will, them buck eyes, you don't have no patience either. I'm looking at you over here. And Mike talking about indeed, exactly. So remember, if you have questions for Dr. T, now is the time. We bring the best of the best in the industry to these chats. And so if you have conversations or questions that you need to ask him, now is the time to have that conversation. You don't have to say who the person is, but this is, look, he not sending us no bill for this one, but you gonna get one, if you do that. But you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. But if you have questions, now is the time to ask those questions about, things that you have going on. We don't judge here. This is a judgment-free zone. Mm-hmm. We had a really good conversation around finances and investments last month, where it had me shaking in my boots about, whether I'm really ready for retirement and stuff. So use these forums to help you to move forward in your life, in love, in whatever it is that you need. Okay. So questions in the chat box. We're going to keep it going though. One of the big questions and things that I struggle with, Dr. T, is balance. And I'm transparent, you guys. One of the, Dr. T and I met yesterday. Okay. And we didn't meet about this chat. We met about me, because I have so many projects that are going on, and I'm having a hard time balancing my work life with my family life, and not just my family life, but with my self-care regimen. I talk about it all the time, but I tell y'all all the time, these sessions are just as much for me as they are for anybody else. And notice the people who do mindfulness work and yoga and talk about self-care they do that because they know they crazy and they need it too. I have already said that to you all, that this is very much about my journey and a part of mine. But balance is something that I'm struggling with. And
tips. One of the things that he gave me, I'll let you share, and then I'll talk about what you gave me yesterday as a tool to help me. But let's talk about how we balance these relationships with children, with your loved one, your partner, whoever that may be, relationships with friends, business associates. How do you balance all of that and maintain the intimacy and the connectedness in your household?
Yeah.
Suggestions, please.
Yeah. Well, at the root of it, I think in a lot of our decisions and how we balance things and do these things, at the root of it is about priorities. What's most important to us? When we prioritize, when we have a list of our priorities, then we can decide how we can distribute that time. My priorities in my life, one of my priorities, my number one priority is my family. And then after that is health. I think I actually keep a list in my wallet of the things that are most important to me.
That's five.
Yeah, yeah. And I know family, health, freedom. And then I think number 4 is like money. And I got some other things too. So money's important to me as well. Now, I used to be a corporate trainer in the area of diversity. So I would travel around the country and teach about racism and sexism and these types of things. It was good money. I stopped it, but I stopped doing it to pursue this career that what I'm doing and to build my practice. And so, but I stopped doing it, but the money started going out and I was having all these expenses and I was like, oh my goodness, what can I do, with all this money going out? Am I still going to how am I going to make ends meet? And then I got these 2 phone calls from 2 consultants. Hey, we want to get back in the game. Let's get you. I said, man, that's good. I think I might want to do that. Hustle man popped out of my chest. I said, oh, I'm going to make this money. But then I was thinking about, wait a minute now, before I make this major decision, I need to decide whether or not I need to do this, but I need to consider my priorities. And so I said, I want to make money, but I got things more important to me in life than money. There are some things more important. Even though it's important to me, there are some things more important. And one of the things was freedom. If I did that in addition to the new practice I was starting, that was going to be less free time. And then I said another thing was health. I used to always complain about it not being a healthy lifestyle. I was flying all times of night, not getting enough sleep, caffeinating myself up, which means even less sleep, eating food like substances, not real food. Schedule was all out of whack. Couldn't get a good workout routine going. So it wasn't a very healthy lifestyle. And then the number one thing to me was family life. And so if I took on a job where I was flying around the country like that, spending 3 and 4 nights a week in a hotel room, I couldn't be the husband and father I needed to be. So that informed my decision at that moment. I was at a crossroads, but I decided, I called both of them up. I said, no, thank you. That doesn't fit with what I'm trying to do. But this is how we have to make these decisions. We have to really be in tune with who we are. We have to love ourselves and what's important to us and stay true to those values. And that way we can live a life of integrity, play that note strong and create your world.
And those are hard decisions. We're not saying by any means that it's easy to turn down hundreds of thousands of dollars that's being thrown at you. By no means are we saying these are easy decisions.
Right.
In fact, these are hard decisions. And so that's why that priority thing is so, so important. And I have some comments I want to just read over here. The struggle of reacting to your partner based upon pains from your past. That's in this comment. We hear that all the time. And Dr. T, I really want you to share with this particular person the thing that you shared with me, and I'm transparent, y'all, shared with me yesterday about dealing with people based upon your past. And she said he doesn't deserve it. It's almost a defense mechanism that goes misplaced. So that idea of that.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about, and I think what you're referring to, and you can add to it is that everybody has a past. Everybody has a background, and everybody is influenced by that past. You may think that your partner is the one with the baggage, but guess what? Your ass got baggage too. It's not whether or not people have baggage or not. It's just what your baggage is. Exactly. And so we all have baggage and it influences our current behavior. And so when things happen, on a subconscious level, people get triggered and it causes a certain behavior. And it's like, where did this come from? That's irrational. That's because they have these programs that have been programmed from an early age to react a certain way when these buttons get triggered. And so if we understand this, rather than being upset and getting all self-righteous toward people when they start acting this way, we can try to have a little bit more compassion and understanding and try to sit down and talk with them and understand where it's coming from and be willing to examine that and talk about it. I think that's some of the things that you were talking about.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about. And then, I mean, they're hitting the nail on the head. I'm seeing in the comments those top things that break people up. That whole idea around financial stability, particularly around money, especially if we feel like we've been taken advantage of in previous relationships. You know, how do you, and then here you go, you're about to combine forces with somebody again. And it's like, oh, hell, are they going to take me to the cleaners again? You know, is this going to happen again? How do you even suggest to deal with just snippets? Because that's a deep kind of conversation.
Oh, yeah, and every situation is different. Yeah.
Every situation is different, but finances, the idea behind that, that's hard. That's a hard one right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's about you really, again, it goes back to the priorities. What's the most important to you? Are finances more important to you, or is your family more important to you? Is your marriage more important to you? And then once you make that decision, then that can inform how you treat your relationship. Some people, money is more important to them. And if you want to just be honest about it, but people aren't honest about it, everybody will say their family and marriage is more important too. But is that really true? Some people, money is more important to them. And if that's fine for you, then I got a video on YouTube. You might want to check it out. It's called Love and Marriage versus Career, Money and Career. And so you might want to, and it says, what would King Midas say? So I'm not going to get into the whole story, but we got to really think about the place in money. And basically, the way I look at it is money is for the service of, it's for the service of my loved ones.
Exactly.
It's not flipped. I mean, it's what's most important here. It's not money is cool. Now, as long as I got money, then that's all I need, you know. Fuck everybody else. As long as they,
right.
They just need to get rid, but don't mess with my money. And
right.
So, I mean, you just really have to, if you want to be about love and marriage and family, to me, people are more important than money. And it's difficult conversations.
Yeah, and I know some of the most wealthy people in the world, and they are some of the most miserable people in the world. Because money does not love you back. It really doesn't. It doesn't love you back. It makes for a more convenient. I'm not saying it's not, we don't need it. And I'm not saying we don't want it, but I'm just saying when you think about the grand scheme of things, it doesn't love you back. It just is. And so, and
money makes an excellent servant, but a horrible master.
There it is. It is.
And I mean, like money.
Yeah, I like money too. I'm not by any means saying that I don't like money, but I used to say all the time, you can't pray to the wrong master. You can't pray to the wrong. You have to understand what the purpose of it is. And I've changed. It's one of those shifts I think that you make as you get older and as you get more comfortable in your own skin. It's like you realize that there are more important things to life. And you understand that I now want to use my money for different purposes. And I have been using my money to help others over the past few years. And that's where I find my greatest pleasure. But I also realize that the more I give, the more comes my way. And that is biblical. That's biblical. I understand that it's biblical. If you give it, it's gonna come back to you tenfold. It is.
November, you're giving right now by doing this November chats. You're giving. And as your brand and you give these to people, you're not getting directly paid for that, but you're giving, you're planting seeds. You're casting your bread upon the waters. And this will return to you in monetary blessings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's important because I feel we don't take enough time to have conversations like this within our communities, within our households, within our families. And we can as a people heal ourselves with the right resources guiding us. And there's no shame in our game. We have professionals that are here for all kinds of things. If you get sick, you go to the doctor. You go to the doctor for, your health and well-being. If you have financial issues, you go to financial planners, or you try to figure out somebody that knows more about money than you do that can support you through that process. If you have things going on in your head that you can't reconcile, or in your heart that's blocking you from your fullest potential, there are people like Dr. T that can help you through that. And there's no shame in it. And I think a lot of times, I'm so happy that there are a lot of men on here, because we as women, sometimes we're quick to share what we have going on. We want to hurry up and talk about it. We want to go and have a discussion and put it all out there. But I'm telling you, our guys, they're struggling with some of the same emotions and feelings and fears and things that we are in relationships around love and being cared for the way they need to. And so I'm just so happy that we have so many men on here willing to talk about their emotions as well, because they're just as much a part of the love cycle as anybody else is. And so
yeah, when I hear people say, well, men, we're not emotional. No, men are emotional. They're very emotional. It's just that they don't know how to deal with their emotions as well as females. Actually, the research has shown that the right brain and the left brain are more connected in females, and it's not as connected in males. And so women they have an easier time going back from rational brain to emotional brain, and they can manage that much more effectively. But the guys, that looks crazy. 1 minute, she's laughing, she's like, ha, ha, ha. Next minute, she's mad, and then she's crying. Oh. And the guy's like, oh, man, that chick is crazy, man. No, she's not crazy. She's just better at managing those emotions. Guys, we only like to do things that we're good at. And one of the feeling in the emotional world and communicating and going to counseling, all this stuff, that's not usually what guys are like doing, all that thing. But we are emotional people, and it's good that you say we have men on here, because that shows that we can grow too and get better at these things.
Absolutely. I have a question from one of our listeners asking, please explain how people grow apart. She says she hates that expression, but why do people have to stop growing when they get together or they get married? And she said, I understand you grow together, but why do you have to stop your personal growth? Why is growing apart the end of all? And so that's a really good question.
Say that last part again. I didn't quite get that last part.
Why is growing apart the end of all? Like I'm thinking she's asking, why does it have to be the end all be all? Why is it that once you finally say I do, that you stop growing together? Yeah. Sometimes you grow in separate ways. What's that about?
Well, yeah, again, this is why I keep reporting. This is why I keep promoting the importance of compatibility. Because unfortunately, when we're younger, we tend to define love. We talk about what does love mean. We tend to define love as that rush, that thrill, that attraction, that chemistry. No, that's just new experience. If you have an organism, when it experiences a stimulus, the reaction is, it'll go way up here. But repeated exposure to the same stimulus, eventually that response is going to get less and less. The only thing that's going to create a new high response is a new stimulus. So that's a bunch of psychological jumbo mumbo, but let me tell you how that relates to what we're talking about here. When you meet somebody, you have the initial thrill, you have that chemistry, you're feeling all high, you're feeling in love, you can see the birds and all these things. Yeah, that's natural. That's just initial thrill. Unfortunately, we define that as love. And when we define that as love, eventually when all that stuff wanes, because I'm sorry to say, it will wane. It is inevitable. It will go down. And then, all right. And when that starts waning, then people start saying stupid shit like, well, I love you, but I'm just not in love with you. I just don't feel that. Okay. And so the problem was that you weren't really in love in the first place. You were calling that initial high love. And unfortunately, we make with real big decisions like, having sex and having babies and getting married. And we make big commitments during that emotional high. And as things go down, we start seeing the other aspects of the person. Is like, what the hell did I do? Who did I get with here? Okay. And people are constantly growing and change. One thing consistent is change. I mean, people are always changing. So if you're compatible, if you're smart enough up front, like I did with my second wife, I've been married since 1992 now, because I was much smarter up here second time around. If you make a decision on compatibility, it's not, okay, yeah, I'm feeling that chemistry, I'm feeling that high, but that doesn't mean I need to be with this person long term. Maybe I need to be thinking about, can I live with this person for the long haul? And then, because when people change, if you got all these things in common and people change, one or two things change, the sex goes down, the romance goes down, but you still got a lot of things holding you together because you were highly compatible. But if you get with somebody just because of sex or the romance and all that, you only got a couple of things holding you together. When those things change, what starts happening? You just start breaking apart like that. And so you have nothing left holding you together. And so that's why I'm a big proponent of compatibility. Now, what I would recommend, if you find yourself growing apart, you all need to get more creative, and you need to be more proactive about finding things that you enjoy doing together. You need to really rediscover each other, be more mindful about your partner. Try to figure out what we can do. We didn't do this in the past, but maybe there's something that we both can find of interest that we can both do together. So that would be my recommendation. If you find yourself growing apart, get creative and say, let's find some new things. Maybe we can take dance class together. Maybe we can do some painting together. Maybe some activity that we can do that we both can find, so we can reconnect in some of these areas.
Exactly. I have another question over here that has to do with, what do you do when your partner is unwilling to open themselves up? Like, what is that about? What are some things you can do when they're just not trying to show themselves?
Yeah, well, one of the main things I would say is you really need to convince them and consider getting them into counseling. Because one of the reasons why people are not willing to open themselves up is because they had bad experiences in the past when they opened themselves up. And they were punished in the past when they opened themselves up. They were judged in the past when they opened themselves up. And so if you give any behavior that continues to be punished through judgment and telling them they're wrong, telling them they're stupid, eventually you're like, well, fuck that shit. I ain't opening up. I'm not opening up anymore. I'm not doing that. And the last time I opened up, we got a big ass argument. It didn't go well. I ain't doing that shit again. And so, so what you have to do is create an environment like we do in counseling that's a non-judgmental environment, that when people do open up, you don't punish them.
Exactly.
You don't judge them. And then the next time they see, okay, well, I opened up on that. I wasn't punished. I wasn't judged. Maybe I can open up on this too. And so now the person is gradually starting to open up more and more because they see that they're in a non-judgmental environment. And that's what we do. That's one of the techniques that I use in my practice and a lot of people to help people blossom, help people grow. Give them unconditional positive regard. Give them empathy rather than argue with them, rather than debate them, rather than minimize their needs, rather than tell them they're stupid, rather than telling them that they're weird and that's flicked. Anytime you do that, you're just making the person close down even more. Now, you got to let them open up on their own at their own speed. You don't just force them and say, no, you need to talk to me. You need to talk to me. That's the emotional rape. So you don't do that. You just provide an environment that allows people to feel safe enough and loved enough. You keep pouring on the love, you keep pouring on the empathy, they will open up.
That term right there, emotional rape, that is real talk.
Yeah, that's what women try to do to men.
Men do it to women too. What you talking about?
I just want to do that. Yeah.
I know you did that for me. I know you did. It happens on both sides. It happens on both sides, and it's so like demoralizing and deflating when the person that you entrust your heart to, does that. And sometimes we don't even know it, and that's where the whole idea of mindfulness comes in. That whole idea of sometimes you just don't need to say anything if you're not ready to say it the way you need to your loved one.
Yeah.
And that pause, that minute of a pause can save your relationship, because sometimes if you just let stuff fly out of your mouth, you let it fly out, you can't take those things back. You
Oh, man.
can't.
It's much better to err on being quiet and don't just hold off, pause a little bit, like you're saying.
Hold on for a second. We know what you want to say.
Exactly.
We know what you want to say. But that ability to just control your tongue long enough to collect your thoughts.
And be mindful about your communication.
And be mindful about your communication can save you a world of heartache. I'm speaking for experience. I have said in previous relationships, and even in this one, but not as much in this one because I learned from the past, you just don't say that. You don't say those kinds of things because you can't ever take them back. And things that you say in a moment of anger can hurt someone for a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's hard though.
Don't speak out of anger. Don't act. Don't decide. Because anything that you do in a state of anger is more than likely not going to be a good choice.
Not good. It's not good. So what I'm trying to do is just hold that thought. Just let's just. That's my look. That's my move. Y'all got it. I'm gonna do this with you right now. I'm not. I cannot do this with you right now. When I've had enough, I can't do this with you right now.
Yeah.
I can't do this. Because if I go past I can't do this with you right now, I'm cussing.
Right.
And I'm turning into Shantae. I'm cussing. I'm acting outside of myself. I am. That's my alter ego, y'all. I mean, it's like I know what she's like, and I try very hard to keep her inside. But that is that control that being mindful does for you. That ability to control yourself.
Yeah, we control our speech.
You can hold your tongue. You can control your mouth. You can control your body language. That goes in any relationship. That's not just our intimate relationships.
Yeah.
Using these instead of these, these instead of these is one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned. So when there are things going on, I listen a lot and I talk a little.
Yeah, and a lot of people they'll be more controlled in the workplace.
Yeah. And
yeah. and then I tell people, well, don't you love your partner more than money? Then why are you treating people in the workplace better than you do your spouse? Why?
I was just going to say that.
Right?
Yes. We treat those that are closest to us sometimes the worst. Sometimes the worst. They get the worst end of the stick.
Yeah, I get dressed up and I go to work and show them how, looking good for everybody. And tell my wife to come home and put on that same old pink robe all the time. She put on God dog it.
For me, it's pineapple for my hair. Because
my God.
Girls, you got to put something around here. Otherwise, it looks like, a hot mess in the morning. So
I need to come to work to see how good you look because you don't look the way right here.
Ooh, you're wrong for that.
No, I'm right for that. She's wrong for that.
Oh, my goodness.
She needs to be mindful about the way she is around now. I'm just saying.
I can't. I would like for you, if you have, just for our conversation, we're winding down. You guys, if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat box. But if you have any just last minute comments around the idea of self-love and self-care and being mindful in your relationships, what are some things that you would leave with us? And they laughing over here, they're talking about truth. And then wow is over in the chat box right now.
I would say be dedicated to creating your world. Be a powerful person. Create your world. And how do you do that? You be true to what you want out of life and be true. Love yourself that much that you're going to get what you want out of life. And be so committed to that you're not going to let anybody turn you around. And then be so committed to that you're going to find somebody who fits within that world, not somebody who's going to struggle to fit into that world. Right. Be true to yourself. Be smart about your self-love and say, I deserve somebody who's compatible, not somebody that I'm just feeling excited about in the moment. I need to be with somebody who's going to fit into that world because I love creating that world that much. I'm going to love myself that much that I'm going to create that. And then it won't be hard for me to love this person because they're going to fit. And so that's what I would recommend, that you start with self-love, and then you will create the love that you want in your life.
Very good. Very good. And so I have one final question.
Yeah.
That we have over here, and that is, sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the hardest thing in the world, to say that those that you love. So is there a way to say no in a positive, constructive way without people taking offense to it? Is there a way? How do you say no? How do you say when you have to? You have to sometimes.
Yeah. Again, this comes with communication skills, and this is the type of stuff we do in counseling, telling people how to do that. But the main paradigm that I would say, the rubric that I would say is think about non-assertive, assertive, and aggressive. You want to stay in the assertive realm. Now, what's the difference? Non-assertive is when you're not loving yourself. When you're letting people have their way and they run all over you, you just say, you just say yes all the time to everybody, everything. You let people determine your life. You're being led.
Mm-hmm.
Aggressive is on the other end, is when that you are getting your needs met and you don't give a shit about anything that anybody cares. You're going to get your needs met and screw everybody else. I'm going to get whatever I want out of life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like narcissist people who are just all about them. They don't care about anybody else. Now, the ideal is to live in the place of assertiveness. Assertiveness is that I'm going to get my needs met, but I'm not going to do it to the detriment of another individual.
Exactly.
Okay, this is the definition of, this is the difference also, this assertiveness and aggressive is also the definition of self-love versus selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some people want to know what's the difference between self-love and selfish. That's the difference. Both are self-loving, but the difference with selfish is that selfish people don't care about anybody else. They're not mindful about anybody, how anybody feels or how they benefit. Self-love is I'm going to love myself and I'm going to get what I need. And sometimes that requires me to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can do so assertively. And I can say, no, that is, and there's different ways. It depends on what you're talking about. I'd have to know exactly what the scenario is, but just be okay with being assertive and say, I don't owe you anything. Guess what? I deserve to get what I want out of this life too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to say yes all the time.
Exactly.
I don't have to cooperate all the time. And you don't have to feel bad about that.
Exactly. So you guys, I'm going to give you a glimpse into next month. We actually have the pleasure of having Dr. T back again for the second time.
No, I didn't know that. I know.
March. Yeah, don't look like that. You said yes already. For a second time. So I want you to get your questions together. We're going to dig a little deeper into our intimate relationships, and we're going to talk about some things that happen within relationships, like how to keep the fire going and how to deal with those kind of things next month. So I really want you to think about the questions that you have as we move into next month with Dr. T. I never typically tell you who our speaker is going to be, but I really want you to be able to benefit from the conversation. So bring your questions, bring your loved ones if you can. Have them to sit with you and tune in. Get their questions answered as well. Maybe they can pass notes like mine does. I don't know, but we want them to be able to be involved too. Thank you so much. No, we can have another hour in March, Will. And everybody is saying thank you so much, Dr. T. They say that these were awesome tools. And they really, really, really appreciate you being with us. I'm getting all these comments over here. So thanks for your time.
You do a great job.
Thank you. I will be sure to have Dr. T's information posted on our social media handles so that you can see his book, The Harmonious Way, as well as get in touch with him if you need any additional support. He is amazing. I can vouch for him because he is just a part of my life, not just my coach. He's a part of my life. So I love you all. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we will see you next time. Bye.